Good afternoon, it's Lindsay. It's Saturday, 2024, October 26, 2024. So, I'm going to do a video right now talking about my experience going to the DMV here in a town called Jourdanton in San Antonio, Texas. I had to make an appointment there because the other place had some stupid 4-month wait or something, whatever it was. So I ended up making an appointment to go to this location, which is about a 45-minute drive from San Antonio. It's not that far, but I've never been there. It's a little town that's outside of kind of Floresville or the Somerset. It's near it's just south San Antonio, further south, as if you're heading I-37 towards Corpus Christi. And it was a nice little town, actually. Like I said, I've never been there. I've heard of it, never been there before. But at first, so what happens to me is when I'm not familiar with the place, sometimes I get lost. But I did do, I hand wrote all the directions on a piece of paper before I left because I didn't want to have to mess with my phone. That map thing eats up the battery of my phone, and so I was like, I'm just gonna write it all down. And usually, for whatever reason, it always, when I do that Google Map on my phone, when I put in specific directions or an address, it usually does it wrong. It does something that it often doesn't work properly, or something usually happens where it gives me the wrong directions for whatever reason. So I was like, I better just write it down, just be safe. So I did. And at first, when I found the place, I left really early to make sure, because I knew that I'd probably have to stop several times on the way to use to urinate, of which I had to do. I had to stop once to go pee and put some gas in my car. And I stopped at a Shell station off of 35 somewhere. But at first, I took a wrong exit, thinking that, because I saw a sign that said Floresville, and I took that exit, not realizing that I just needed to keep going down I-37 south and exit 109 towards Floresville and Jourdanton. So I had made a wrong exit at first, so I had to turn around and go back, which deterred me a good 15 minutes. But nonetheless, I still got there probably an hour and a half to 2 hours early, which was fine because at first I parked in the wrong space. I went because there's a sheriff's department which is right there before you get to the DPS. The DPS was just a small facade a couple miles, or not, a block or a couple blocks down from where the sheriff's department was. So at first I was like, okay, because it said DPS, so I parked into the sheriff's department parking lot, waiting for a while, and I was really early, so I was just sitting there in my car, and then I started talking out loud, and I started talking about how angry I was with that Bobby White man in Longview, and I started going off because every time I have to do something that involves a DMV or driver's license or anything like that, I get triggered because of all the chaos and the confusion and anger that man, and frustration that he caused me over the years. I still am very much traumatized and triggered by that, believe it or not, because of all the shit that he put me through. And I know that people don't understand that kind of PTSD, but whenever you've been abused by somebody with authority or gang stalked and targeted by people who are getting revenge on you, such as in my case with that man, you sense what's going on. And since that man had his own fucking private investigation company, he was he had a security guard company, and he was a former police officer in Longview, and the jackass even convinced me or manipulated me into getting fingerprints done at the fucking Longview police station back in 2009 when I completed that course on Penn Foster online. So he had an agenda with me. Clearly, they had an agenda with me, of which I suspect it had to do with maybe drug smuggling or drug trafficking. God only knows, or human trafficking, sex trafficking. I don't know, but it makes me infuriated to think that I was taken advantage of and exploited in those kinds of ways by who happens to be a black man. And I'm, sorry, but for whatever reason, I tend to get a lot of hatred targeted at me by black people all the time here. It happened to me a lot in Houston. Years of that shit throughout my entire life when I was in school, high school, middle school. They fuck around with me in the classroom and tease me and take their pants down and just perverted stuff that they would do to me way back when, starting when I was in Houston at Pershing Middle School. The bitches, the black women, would beat me up in the locker room or taunt me and torment me and try to, beat me up, basically. And one time she tried to beat me up, this bitch, this black girl at the Pershing Middle School, and I was like 13 years old, and I didn't even know the girl. It was some bitch in the PE class who hated me because I was a white whatever, for whatever reason. I never did anything to these people, but they seem to have something against me, and I've noticed this for my entire life. Like I said, it obviously just has to do with, I don't know, but I don't really feel like I need to justify for what I'm talking about, because this is real. What I'm talking about, I have experienced. And if people want to label me as being a racist or a bigot or a whatever, discriminatory, I don't really, you can call me what you want to, but I speak from experience of this. I have never gone out of my way to bully or harass or gang stalk or intimidate somebody because of their skin color. I don't do that. People who gang stalk and harass other people are mentally ill. In my opinion, anybody who stalks and surveils somebody and participates in that targeted shit of targeting people, you're crazy, you're psychotic, and you're mentally ill. No question about it. But normal people don't gang stalk, don't do that. They just don't. It's not something that people do who have morals and values, in my opinion. It's just something that's completely out, in my view, it's completely foreign. It's very strange that people would do such a thing because of their own ignorance or projecting onto others, or their whatever the problem is. It's just very strange that people would do such a thing, but they do, because I get it every day, and no question about it. I've been targeted for mostly by the majority of the people doing this to me, or either just all kinds of people, but it mostly is black people targeting me at the gyms, usually gang stalking me, acting like they're my friend, trying to be nice, and then they say shit, and then it's very strange, like the way they gaslight me or try to. But it's like it's just, they're real mean. They can be really mean, and I just ignore it. I just try to ignore it. But I'm also, at the same time, I know how to be nice to people, but I don't need to be fucking stepped on and taken advantage of by being too nice to people, because they take it the wrong way. I have found that if I'm too kind to people, then they take it the wrong way. So I have to be extremely pragmatic in my approach towards certain people. But so anyway, with that aside, that whole shit that happened with that man, I still get triggered by anything that has to do with driver's license, the DMV, all this shit, because of all the fucking crap that fucking asshole. Sorry, but he is an asshole, and plus he had me on his company website for the longest time, and I had to fight the DPS or the DMV to get my name and information off of his company website, which was affiliated with the Texas Department of Public Safety. His company had my name on there as a private security officer as well as a private investigator working for his company, which never happened. Obviously, I gave him money. He bamboozled me. He stole my fucking money. He manipulated me, lied to me. It acted like I was going to have a good career, and he just was full of shit. And so I was very insulted and humiliated the fact that he took advantage of me in that way, knowing good and well what he was doing with his authority as a former police officer and whatnot. He knew exactly what he was doing, and it was all done ill intentions on his end. So, I still get triggered by that to this day, even though it happened years ago. I still, because of all the fucking gang stalking that I still experience as a result of mostly that, I think. And you learn from your mistakes. I've made some stupid mistakes in my past, one of which was marrying a Panamanian who was just using me for my for a fucking green card, a justice of peace marriage, if you want to call it, which I tried to get annulled after I figured out his scam. Well, so I've learned from my mistakes, and I've made a few, but I have learned over the years from some of my mistakes, and I try to not repeat the same kinds of things over and over again. But once you have been through these kinds of things in your life, these kinds of little micro-traumatic type events, it really changes you. It opens up your mind more to reality about how the world is, and about people, and about their intentions, and things of this nature. And so I tend to be very skeptical, a little bit hypersensitive, and very prudent nowadays about who I talk to and who I allow into my life, because I feel it's necessary for me to be that way, just because of what I've experienced as a targeted person here or throughout my life. And so I get to the DMV on time, well, way before the time is, and I was so early I wasn't able to check in until 30 minutes prior to my scheduled appointment, which was at 12:20. And I got there at 10 o'clock, I think, something like that. But I just sat outside and read my book and enjoyed the weather, sitting in a little table out there that they had in the shade. It was nice, just get a little bit of fresh air. So I did that, and then I went back in there, and I always noticed the people in there. There was a guy in there who was, I think he was from, if I'm not mistaken, he may have been, it was some country in Europe. What was it? Ukraine. He was a Ukrainian guy, I think. He was trying to get his driver's license switched over from that country into this country, and she was talking to him about, like, well, I need proof from your landlord, or proof of where you live. And so I listened to that for a while, what he was going through, and then I heard other conversations, but that, so there's always weird, it's a really tiny little building, small place, and then I just pay attention to people and their conversations, and it's just like, I swear some of this stuff is so orchestrated and skit shit that they do to me, like total street theaters, total fucking skit shit, okay, for targeted people. And then so then that happened, whatever, and of course I had to urinate as soon as I got there. About within 5 minutes of my arriving there, I had to go pee. So I used the bathroom, and I noticed that the toilet paper dispenser said Victoria Bay on it. And I'm thinking, okay, Victoria Bay, here we go with that name, Victoria, which I got triggered by that, about something involving a narcissistic man who I've been involved with, that his little affair, with his ongoing thing that he's got with this woman named Victoria. Unless that's a big lie, who knows, but he's having some kind of an affair with some woman named Victoria at his job, or I know that he likes her, whatever. It's pretty fucking obvious that they've screwed around or done something, or they're still having, I mean, it's just blatantly obvious to me that he's got, and so that triggered me to think. And of course, he had shown up the other day knocking on my door when I'm in the middle of making a video, demanding that I let him inside. I'm like, go away, go away. And he practically, he wouldn't leave. I let him into my house. And then he's like, well, let's go get something to eat. Let's go. I said, I've already eaten. And he's like, come on, where are you? Let's go somewhere. I'm like, oh, this is really weird. All of a sudden, he's wanting to take me out someplace, out in public, which is completely out of character for him. Usually he's never been like that. Normally it's only to a motel, but out in public to a restaurant, not really. That's very seldom with him. So, or that was like, what's going on with this? Why is he all of a sudden doing a 360? And, you know, so I'm thinking this has got to be more of a setup. And so he wanted to go to this place called Lala's over in the south side. And I'd never been there. But he wanted me to eat a gourd. Once again, he's like, well, they have vegan gorditas. And of course, he's been calling me fat lately and making it hints that I'm fat and that I'm not, you know. He's been doing that a lot, teasing me subtly about being fat or whatever. I don't give a shit what he thinks, but I know that how these people are. They're narcissistic. And, you know, if you're not some little fucking emaciated anorexic who starves themselves and you're just nothing but a fucking sex toy for these assholes, they'll start dragging you down about your body and your appearance and controlling you. And it's all about control. Because with narcissistic people, it's about controlling your body. It's about controlling what you eat. It's about everything for them. It's about control so that you can continue to be a slave to their needs. And that's how they are. And don't try to tell me different, because I know how these assholes are. They're oversexed, egocentric, jackass, narcissistic men who just see people as sex objects, like myself, for this man to do something for him. And he can try to get all the fucking revenge on me he wants. I don't give a shit, because I already know what he's up to. I'm not dumb, and quite frankly, I don't care anymore, because I believe in myself, and I know who I am, and I don't need validation from him or anybody. I make these videos because I've been doing this for a long, long time, long before I ever knew that, long before I ever knew him. So he can work at this little fucking government job, whatever the fuck it is that he works for. I don't really care, because I have the right, freedom of speech, to say what I want to say. So whatever. If he wants to try to embarrass me or smear me or do whatever, go right the fuck ahead, because I don't really give a shit. Honestly, I could do the same thing to you. Call up your fucking job and start spreading rumors about you and your fucking affair with this Victoria. If you want me to do that, I could. So, you know, I'm just saying he has no room to be talking, because he can't keep his... Because he's a womanizer, he's a flirt, and he's a player, and he knows it, and everybody knows it, including myself, because I know him well. I know how he is. So he's just using me, and he's been using me, and I suppose he's trying to use me for financial purposes, or to try to make money off me, as well as for other things, what I've talked about before. And it's very exploitative and degrading, but that's how these narcissistic psychopaths are. They see people as objects to exploit sexually and otherwise. So, you know, whatever. He can play nice all he wants, but I can see through the fucking mask. And it's all about revenge with him now, because I've called him out for his shit for a long time. And so he keeps on coming back to hoover me to get revenge and to try to, you know, get even. I see what it's about. You know, it's like, and no matter how many times I've blocked him on my phone, he calls me anyway and leaves messages. So I guess I'll have to change my phone number, is the next thing I'm going to have to do in order to get it to stop or move away and not tell anybody where I'm going. Because that's how bad this can get, is these people won't leave you alone. And they think it's a game. It's not a game when you're messing with somebody's health and emotions like that. It's not a game. He's a big man, he's a bully, and he needs to be in control of other people, and it's not funny. It's not funny the trauma and the abuse that these people have put me through, all the psychological and physiological stress that it causes me. Number one, having to drive all that fucking way to get my driver's license, which is completely stupid, because I know common sense tells me that you don't have to wait 4 months to get a fucking appointment to go to the DMV in San Antonio, Texas, or any location here. It's not a fucking huge city, and that's just a lie. It was just a lie. It was made to make me have to go out of my fucking way so I can be monitored and sized up by people in a different town. It's all part of this shit. And when I try to explain that to people, when I try to explain it to that other, for example, that narcissist he's just like laughs at me and doesn't give me any validation for that. So I don't need your fucking validation, because I know what I'm talking about. And then when I mentioned him the other day, how some black man who I'd never fucking seen before at the gym yesterday, is I'm walking to the water fountain to get some water as I first got there to go get some water. This black dude walks by with a fucking t-shirt with the Snellen eye chart on it, the eye chart that that you see at the doctor's office. I was like, oh yeah, what a fucking, oh gee, how coincidental. Just so happens that I've been talking about that and researching it, and then all of a sudden he shows up, crosses my path to get my attention with that same chart on his t-shirt, a t-shirt with the eye chart on it, the letters. I'm like, yeah, and he's looking at me smiling with this mischievous grin. There's some black guy, I've never seen him before. It's like, what the fuck is up with that? Oh, it's so funny. This is the shit that they do, the retarded crap that they fucking do to me at that gym. Just as an example of the shit that these people do to me, to gaslight me and traumatize me or to harass me. And they think it's funny. What's so funny about, why is that funny to do this to people? Why? Can I go around with a big fucking negroid mask on and with a big fucking lips or something and start making fun of them? Do they want me to do that? Or do shit like that? How would they feel if people start doing that? Depicting them in ways that they depict me and make fun of me. I could do the same thing, but I'm not that low. I wouldn't do that. But that's the kind of shit these people do because they're so goddamn angry and insecure about their own pathetic fucking situations that they have to take it out on people like me sometimes. And I know what I'm talking about because I've gone through it a lot. And I am not saying that every single one of them is like that. That is not what I'm trying to say, but I have met my share of some of them who will go out of their fucking way to be rude, to stalk me, and to harass me. Not obviously, there's some people who are not like that. Some of them are very nice, well-educated, well-mannered, respectful, but others really try to make it very difficult for me, and I have no idea why, because I have been nice to these people, try to be at least, and it's just like, what the fuck, what is this about? And I can't even explain, to try to explain this to somebody who doesn't go through this gang stalking, surveillance targeted shit every day, you would not be able to comprehend it, because it's probably above your fucking comprehension to see the shit that goes on with these people, or people in general. So at the DMV, back to that, so there's some people there, there's a black, of course there's always a black, everywhere I go, especially it's a government, whatever, there's always some black woman stalking me and following me around. So there was a black lady there who was clearly there to monitor me or fucking do her stalking shit. I could tell that was obvious, because the way she made it obvious. And so I'm like, oh, for God's sakes. And so finally, when it's my turn, I check in 20 minutes, 30 minutes early. I wait, I sit down for a while, and I watch the woman talk to some lady who's waiting in there, and she's something about, well, she's telling her how her driver's license or something, there's a problem that she's not able to check in because something about it's suspended, or she's going to have to go to Austin, or here's a phone number to call, and some Hispanic girl, and she just, so I saw that happen. I saw the guy from the Ukraine. I think he was from the Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken. It was Ukraine or Turkey. No, I think he was from the Ukraine. I saw him with his big bag full of documents, and he had an accent. The place is tiny. It's a real small little building. But nonetheless, there's only 3 windows. So it's my turn finally. Fortunately, but I thought the people were very nice. The people who worked there, it was women. They were very nice to me, very helpful, and I had a good experience with overall the people in that town. I parked my car across the street at a community center or library because and everything was fine. I didn't have any problems with any of the locals. They treated me well, thank God. I think that in a lot of ways, people in smaller towns are much more friendly, at least because I've noticed the same thing when I have gone to Kerrville, how people are just more kind to me and just more laid back and not in such a big rush, and they're just more humane, I guess, not so mean as like in a big city. In San Antonio is getting to the point where it's just monotonous and too many people, and the way people drive and the way people are so aggressive and loud and rude and disrespectful. After a while, it really starts to wear on you. So eventually I keep thinking at one point, if I'm not, I just would like to move to a smaller town. I'm so tired of all the driving that I do, I'm so tired of the attitude of the people here, the rude fucking and some of these people are so rude and disrespectful in their fucking culture, their rap. I don't like any of it. It all makes me sick. I don't like it. I'm not interested. It's not who I am. And I admit, at least I admit it, I don't like it. I'm not a fucking rap star. I'm not into the fucking black culture. I'm not into the fucking big lip Mexicans with their big fucking asses and their Jennifer I'm not into that shit, and I never have been. But to each his own. If that's your thing, good. But to me, I find it all quite repulsive, quite frankly. It's all artificial, fake shit that I don't like. I think that it's just demeaning and degrading of the way women are supposed to look, and people are just oversexed, rude nowadays, and I just don't want to have anything to do with most people because it makes me sick, physically, mentally sick, to be around that kind of chaos day after day. I get enough of that shit at the gym with that fucking crap they play, that rap music, and the media. It's just enough to make a person want to throw up. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's like basically catering to a bunch of, like at a zoo for animals. It's like going to a fucking zoo, petting zoo is what it feels like sometimes. The way they make these noises when they're exercising, the way they're loud, the way the music, it really starts to, after a while, makes a person get crazy. And I went through enough of that shit at the Goliad gym. And now it's just like here again, it's like it's mostly black people at this gym. A lot of them. And some of them, like I said, are nice and well-behaved, but others are just so fucking mean and rude and just and ill-mannered. Some of them that it just is like, oh, fuck, I just can't. It makes me... And the way they make fun of me, the way they have to make fun of me, the way I exercise and everything, because they think it's so fucking funny. It's like, grow the fuck up, why do you have to make fun of, what's up with that? Making fun of people because they go to the gym? Grow the fuck up. But it's like they just, some people just can't seem to help it. That's just how they are, and it's their DNA. How else can you explain that kind of behavior? But, so I was able to get my driver's license renewed. And then, of course, as soon as I'm leaving or whatever, I see that I have a message on my phone as I'm in the parking lot driving away or about to drive away. And guess who it is? Oh, I wanted to see how your appointment went. And So it's like, oh, obviously you're watching me. Obviously you're in on this because you seem to know, it's like, okay, like you really give a shit. Because I know you're part of the gang stalking fusion center bullshit. And you're lying to me about who you are, and so I know you don't really care, and I know you're just trying to fucking, you're probably part of the reason, I just don't need to be tormented or manipulated or gaslit anymore by these kinds of people, these narcissistic people. I just can't fucking go through it anymore. So I block, delete, and that's what I have to do. And I don't give a shit. I will block people, I will delete them, and I get over it and I move on. But they, for whatever reason, can't seem to move on sometimes, and they continuously harass me. Look, if you're with somebody and you know that motherfucker is sleeping with other women, yet lying to you to your face, and you know good and well they're fucking lying to you, why would you want to stay with someone like that? Why would you even engage in any kind of conversation? Why would you even... why do people allow themselves to be treated and stepped all over by people who they know are lying to them and manipulating them? What's the point? Why do people do that? Is it because you want to hang on to something that's not there? Do you want to hang on to something that already died and fizzled out? That was probably never there in the first place? Do you think that there's hope for something like that to last whenever you know that they're lying to you or they have lied to you? What's the point of trying to fix something that can't be fixed? Or, because with a lot of relationships now, the way people are so incredibly narcissistic and self-absorbed, it's like you just can't expect that you're going to have anything that's honest anymore. It's very difficult to meet a person who's honest and direct. without gaslighting, without being manipulative, without all the subtle nonsense? Why can't people just be genuine when it comes to relationships? Because I'll tell you, when there's people out there who screw around with your health and your emotions via emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse, that's not funny. That does cause a lot of trauma and psychological issues for a person, and it doesn't just happen overnight that you get over these types of events or things in your life, because it is a lot of trauma that as soon as you fix one thing, or you're trying to fix one thing, another thing falls in your way, and so you get bombarded with everything at once when you're still trying to heal from something that just happened. But they don't give you the time to fucking breathe or be left alone. That's the problem with these kinds of people, is they just won't let you be left alone. And it's like some people, such as myself, I get therapy from making videos. I find it therapeutic. I don't need to go out and spend $500 or $200 to talk to a psychiatrist or a life coach or a psychotherapist who doesn't know shit about narcissistic abuse and who's going to invalidate me about my gang stalking and surveillance experiences. They're not going to fucking understand me or give me the time of day, because they don't understand what I'm talking about, and they certainly can't put themselves in my position. So what the fuck is it going to do me any good when I can sit here and talk about it for free to myself on a video? Same thing. I don't need their fucking validation because they have some fucking credential. Because usually those people, what do? Shame. Let's shame you, and let's re-humiliate you, and let's re-traumatize you for something that happened, 30, 25 years ago. Let's just keep on bringing back the past to try to guilt trip you and shame you and make you feel inadequate and lousy and like you're a failure from something that happened 20 years ago, for example. I don't need that in my life. And I'm not going to put up with that shit. And I don't know why anybody would, but that's what a lot of these fucking people do who are so-called coaches and therapists. Oh, really? All they want to do is shame-based programming, just like the fucking 12-step shame-based crap. I don't need that in my life. I blame fucking parents for having... You know whose fault it is? And you're not going to like what I have to say, but too fucking bad. Those women out there who can't keep their fucking legs closed and who keep fucking fornicating and having fucking babies that you don't know how to take care of even one of them, that's your fucking problem. And the man who can't keep his dick in his pants. Get on some fucking birth control or keep your fucking dick in your pants. And quit fornicating and having a bunch of kids that you don't fucking want. Out of wedlock or out of adultery or whatever the fuck it is, one night stands. That's your fucking responsibility. I might be fucked up and imperfect, but at least I don't have a bunch of fucking kids running around with 5 different fathers. Because I don't want any, and I never wanted any. And you can shame me all the fuck you want for that, and quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. So there.